Toy Story made history last year as the first computer-generated full-length feature film.
Not now, Slink. I got some bad news.
Bad news?
Just gather everyone up for a staff meeting and be happy.
Got it.
Be happy. Staff meeting, everybody. Snake, robot, podium duty. Hey, Etch. Draw. Oh! Got me again. Etch, you've been working on that draw. Fastest knobs in the West.
Got a staff meeting, you guys. Come on, let's go.
Now, where is that? Oh. Hey, who moved my doodle pad way over here? How you doing, Rex?
Were you scared? Tell me honestly.
I was close to being scared that time.
Oh, I'm going for fearsome here, but I just don't feel it. I think I'm just coming off as annoying.
Ow! Oh, hi, Bo. Hi.
I wanted to thank you, Woody, for saving my flock.
Oh, hey, it was, nothing.
What do you say I get someone else to watch the sheep tonight?
Hell yeah.
Remember, I'm just a couple of blocks away.
The film earned over $192 million domestically, more than $300 million internationally. It will soon be released on home video. Its technology and success have revolutionized the business of animation and opened the door to endless possibility between Hollywood and the Silicon Valley. Joining me now, Academy Award-winning director John Lasseter. He led the innovative team from Pixar Animation that brought the film to life. Also, Pixar's chairman and CEO, Steve Jobs. He introduced computers to the ordinary user when he co-founded Apple Computers. He currently heads Next Software, and I'm pleased to have both of them here to talk about what's happening in the world of animation and this marvelous relationship between film and computers producing animation. Welcome. Great to have you,
Charlie.
Let me start with you, John.
Okay.
As a director, what's going on? I mean, what does Pixar do that's so extraordinary?
I think what Pixar does is so what Pixar does is so extraordinary is that we have taken a look at this new technology, computer animation, and we don't look at it as a way to replace any of the creativity or any of the real art of filmmaking. We look at it as these are just great new expensive pencils. You know, that's what it is. It's artists using these computers as though, you know, an artist at Disney uses a piece of paper and a pencil. And because the focus of what we do is still where it's most important, and that's with the story and the characters. I think Toy Story is a success, not because it's computer generated. It's a success because it has, you know, the characters of Buzz Lightyear and Woody and in the storyline that really has captivated audiences.
But the question still is, what could you do because of new technology, and how faster and how less expensive than the old way?
What's interesting is I think when computers come into any
Does it give you, let me interrupt myself, more creative freedom in a sense to roll because the technology allows you that?
Well, it's two aspects of what you asked. One, what's interesting is it's a very common belief that when computers come into a new artistic medium, that something that's either you know, less expensive, takes less time, or it's going to replace something. You know, it reminds me a lot of when photography was invented. Everybody thought that painting was going to get replaced. You know, and that is something that really just, you know, won't happen. What computer animation does is it has a whole new look. You know, but the key word is animation. Animation, by definition, is making a motion picture frame by frame by frame by frame, and that doesn't change. We labor over every single frame, and so I worked on Toy Story for over 4 years. The full production was 2.5 years. The difference between Toy Story and Lion King or Pocahontas or Hunchback.
What is the difference?
The difference is that we used a lot less people.
Well, that's my point. It made it more efficient to do.
Yeah. It was, and also we were a much smaller studio. We were kind of, you know, a leaner sort of.
Does it look any better on the screen?
Well, that is something for the viewer to choose. It looks different. I'm not going to say whether it's different. It's more dimensional. What excited me about this medium, I was trained as a traditional animator. I love Disney animation. I love, you know, Warner Brothers cartoons. That's what I grew up on, you know, and I got really excited about animation. I was trained as a traditional animator, drawing, design, all that. But what excited me when I first saw my first computer animation back in about 1981 was that it was three-dimensional. You were able to create a world that was totally dimensional. You were able to move in and around objects, which you had never been able to do in hand-drawn animation. And so therefore, that got me so excited. And I think what Toy Story was different on is, what made it unique is that we chose a subject matter, toys being alive, that really lent itself beautifully to the medium.
How did you, sir?
What have I got to do with this?
Exactly. I mean, you know, you're a guy who founds high-tech companies and tries to make another $1 billion.
Yeah, well, I don't think of myself that way, but
I know you don't.
I wish I could.
Well,
I wish I could do it.
Stop.
Yeah.
How do you think of yourself? I mean, after Apple, after Next, how do you think of yourself?
You know, the things that I've done in my life, I think the things we do now at Pixar, these are team sports. You know, they're not something that one person does. We've got, you have to have an extraordinary team, because these are, you're trying to climb a mountain with a whole party of people. A lot of stuff to bring up the mountain. So one person can't do it. And I first got involved in this when I heard about this incredible group of computer graphics specialists that George Lucas had assembled at Lucasfilm that he wanted to sell. And so I went up there and saw what they were doing, and I met the leader of this group, Dr. Ed Catmull. And Ed told me about his dream, which was to make the first computer animated feature film someday, and showed me what this team was working on. And I was blown away. I spent a lot of time in computer graphics with the Macintosh and the Laser Writer and stuff, but this was way beyond anything I'd seen. And so I bought into that dream, both spiritually, if you will, and financially, and we bought the computer division from George and incorporated it as Pixar. John was there from the very start, Ed was there, and we were joined by other people along the way. And it took us 10 years to do it. But
what was so hard?
Oh, there were...
Good question, huh, John?
You know,
Yeah, that's a good question.
It took us a long time to build the technical foundation to do this stuff. We were pioneering every step of the way. Pixar invented all this stuff. But as John says, we don't view ourselves as a technology company. Our product is content. We're an entertainment company. And all this technology really is just in the service of the storytelling, the service of the creative people. And computer animation is even a little bit of a misnomer. The computers don't do the animation. They do the drawing. And they crank on these drawings for, like, 3 hours by one of the fastest computers in the world, which is why the drawings are three-dimensional. But the animators act. You know, I've watched John and his team work, and they are the heart and soul of the characters. They do all the acting, not the computers.
Okay, but I mean, let me just make sure I understand what you're saying. I mean, I would think that people... I mean, when I was telling you about my interest in what in the world's going on and where the future's headed, and you said to me, that's not what we're about. And what the point you wanted to make is that we're about entertainment. And we're about technology in the service of the entertainment that we create, right?
We're about putting stories into the culture. That's what we're about, telling stories. And,
and you've got a different paintbrush and you've got a different canvas than everybody else does, or it's a more advanced, it's a better, it's a more something.
I'll let John speak to this, but I know a lot of people at Pixar, our heroes are Disney. I mean, look at what they've done. We've all got young children. And our kids watch these Disney films, and they learn a lot from these Disney films, about good and evil and right and wrong, and, they're entertained all along the way.
It's a great storytelling
It's incredible
vehicle.
What they've done.
Before I ask you my next one, what's the biggest ever success in animation? Huge.
Lion King.
Lion King.
Lion
King
far and away.
broke all the records.
Yeah,
Yes.
far and away. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then Aladdin is right after that, and then Toy Story.
And there's a lot of difference in terms of the way Lion King was made and the way Toy Story was made.
Yeah, but
a world of difference.
And yes and no.
And nothing different about what came out of the head of the animator.
Right. It's the process is very much the same in the development of the story. Animation is very different than live-action filmmaking, because in live-action filmmaking, the director starts with a script, and then, blocks out the shot, goes to the set, and films it from all different angles. Covers the scene 10, 20 different times, close-ups, long shots, 2 shots, so on. Takes all that footage, goes into the editing room, and makes the film there. It pieces it together, juxtaposes things, edits the film. It's always the post-production, after the fact. In animation, the actual production of the footage is so time-consuming, therefore expensive. It's really the time is why it's expensive. We can't really afford to do a scene 10 different ways. You know, we have to do it just, every frame has to count. So what we do is in the story development, you pretty much edit your film in advance. Now what I mean by that is you start with the script, and then what we do is we do storyboards, sort of a visual script.
Storyboards or new?
Old-fashioned. Yeah. You know, with storyboards, one of the things that Pixar is that we don't want to replace, we don't want to throw everything in the animation filmmaking process out the window and replace it with new technology. We use a technology where it's going to make the film better or make the film, you know, different. Storyboarding, there's nothing better than a piece of paper and a pencil and a 4x8 piece of cellulite.
You got no story, you got no film.
Yeah, and you got no story. So then you do a story reel. You cut that onto film. And in our case, we use a computer there. We use a nonlinear editing system that's very common in the industry now. But it makes it so that we can look at those still drawings with scratch dialogue, scratch music, sit back, watch it on a big projection video, and that film will tell us if it's working or not. If it's working in our story reels, when we animate it and put the colors to it, it's going to work even better. If it's not working in the story reels, the animation won't save it.
In essence, it lets us beta test and iterate our film before we make it. Totally different than live action filmmaking. And we believe it's one of the reasons that the hit rate can be substantially different.
That's, you know, and that process we're talking about really isn't much different than Disney did Snow White with.
Right.
You know? But you look, you know, that's one of the things is that Disney and Pixar, we labor over the stories. You know, I mentioned I worked 4 years on Toy Story. The first year and a half was story development alone. You know, we worked so hard because the most important thing to me in creation of Toy Story was to make a film that of course kids will like, because it's all about toys. I mean, most kids look at it as a documentary, you know, but the parents are going to like it. And then the adults without kids would like it. And then teenagers. I have a 16-year-old son named Joey, and he was one of my most important test audiences because
How old?
16.
16.
And it was so important for me that I showed him stuff constantly to see if it was cool or not, you know, because, you know, teenagers tend to not like a lot of things, and so it was important for us to if we can get the teenage audience.
Market tested it with Joey.
I did.
All right, take a look at this. This is another clip from Toy Story, an illustration of what we're talking about.
We're not that far from a spaceport.
The door. It's open. We're free.
What if you don't know what's out there?
I'll tell you what. Ah! Ah! They're gonna eat us, Buzz. Do something quick.
Shield your eyes. It's not working. I recharged it before I left. It should be good for now.
You idiot! You're a toy. Use your karate chop action. Get away.
Hey, how you doing there? Stop that.
Back, you savages, back.
Woody, stop it.
Sorry, guys, but dinner's canceled. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place like home.
Okay, before I leave Toy Story, which we've talked about a lot here, how do you see this being applied to other, whatever? Think freely for me. I mean, you've got a pretty good eye for the future.
Well, you know, one of the things, this stuff's really hard. It takes us 4 years to make these films, and we'll get them out more frequently by overlapping them, but 4 years is a pretty big investment in these things. But when it works, it can be phenomenal. You know, Snow White is 60 years old. Who do you know that hasn't seen Snow White? I know people on most continents, and I don't think I know one person that hasn't seen Snow White. So the ability for these things to live for 60 or even 100 years is amazing, and that's very different than the technology world that I've come from. You know, most of the technology products we do, Apple IIs, Macintoshes, you name it, they tend
obsolete in 18 months and it's shrinking to 6 months past.
You're lucky if they live 10 to 15 years. I mean, it's a very rare exception. So, and then they become sort of part of the sediment layer for things to build upon. These things can live for 100 years. And so it's very different. And we're not competing against, you know, a Microsoft or another company. We're competing against, can we make a great film that people love? That's what we compete against. And so every day when we go to work, we're saying, You know, how do we make a...
All right, but I mean, look, two questions quickly,
Yeah.
because one is, why should I come to Pixar if I'm a great animator?
Yes.
And if I've got a great story idea, why should I come to you?
Oh, I think the three reasons. One, Pixar is a place more than anywhere else in the world that they can get creative satisfaction. We try to give these artists a project that they can be proud of for the rest of their careers. That's one. That's a big thing. I know, because I've worked in a lot of places where I was working on kind of garbage, and it's hard to work. Secondly, in working with these people, I try so hard, even if it's the smallest task, to give them a little bit of creative ownership, to let them figure out how to do it. I don't tell people how to do it. And so that is a really important reason. And the most important thing is at Pixar we have a lot of fun. You know, and it comes, I think it shows in the thing, in the film.
And I could see it when you think about I remember there's not much political satire on American television.
Mm-hmm.
Some political satire can be done in animation in an interesting way, because you can use characters. You could do this if you had a good storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
You had great writers.
Mm-hmm.
You could probably do it faster and quicker and more interestingly.
Well, political satire is interesting. It's what Steve was talking about. It quickly becomes dated.
Oh, I see. So therefore you don't have the payoff.
You know, what we try to do is make stories that will last on. That's why the choice of all the existing toys in Toy Story. There's Mr. Potato Head, there's Etch-a-Sketch, Magic 8 Ball. It's the things that we had as kids, the kids still have today.
And you don't have to play any residuals actors either, do you?
Mr. Potato Head, you know, it was a tough deal to negotiate with him. No, I'm just kidding. Had you there?
I know. I thought maybe somebody owned it.
Well, they do, but they were very.
Why has the stock? Has the stock come down?
Well, we went out at the IPO at $22 a share, and I didn't check the price today, but it's probably somewhere around $17, $18 a share.
Yeah.
And I think part of that, well, I don't know why the stock market does what it does. So that's first answer. Second answer is, I think a lot of people thought we were a technology company. And we maybe didn't do a good enough job explaining to people, no, we're an entertainment company. We're not a quarter-to-quarter earnings company. We're building assets that are sort of annuities into the future. And so I think people are slowly coming around to that, understanding how difficult this is to do. You know, since Snow White was released in 1928, which was the first animated feature film ever, 60 years ago, every major studio has tried to break into this business. And until last December, Disney was the only studio that had ever made a feature animated film that was a blockbuster, $100 million or more in domestic box office. And last December, Pixar became the second studio in history to do that. So it's a very, very rarefied ability to make these products. And I think Pixar is really able to do this quite well.
And what happens after the contract with the three-picture deal with Disney goes?
You know, we love working with Disney. It's a fantastic partnership. So, you know, who knows? Maybe we'll put something together to keep making films with them.
Okay. I want to talk about the business, overall business, which you know something about the computer business, too. Does it bring, how do you feel about what's happened to Apple?
You know, all the work we did at Apple lives on. It lives on in the Macintosh, and now it lives on in Windows 95.
Yeah, of course it does, but yeah, but that's interesting to say, and clearly it does.
Yeah.
But it's Windows 95, it's Microsoft, it's not Apple.
Right, but it's still the work. It's still the innovation. So
did it have to turn out the way it did?
It's hard to predict these things. I mean,
yeah, come on, Steve, you've thought about this. This is not a subject that's unfamiliar to you.
Yeah, it is. It's sort of ancient history to me right now. I don't really think about this stuff anymore. And Apple and Microsoft duke it out, and Netscape and Microsoft duke it out. And to me, it's a spectator sport at this point.
Do you care about it? Do you have any interest in it? Does the ideas that does the internet mean anything to you?
Sure, the internet's great. I mean, I look at it.
Do you use it? Do you care about it?
I use it every day, and I do care about it, and I think it's phenomenal what's happening. The internet is clearly the most exciting thing in the computer business. But right now, I look at the computer business mostly as a consumer at Pixar, you know, because we are one of the largest consumers of computing in the world. And we use it to make our films. So,
yeah, but also, I mean, I hear you, and you clearly, I mean, if you understand marketing very, very well. That was your genius in the beginning, yes? You understood the concept and you understood marketing. You'll grant me that. Question, is that when you look at Pixar, you seem to be saying to me and to you and John together, my company's misunderstood. It's not a computer company. It's a filmmaking company, you know.
Right.
I mean, that's sort of you realize that in terms of some maybe truth, but also in terms of some marketing savvy, we got to make sure that we got to get this word out that this thing is about entertainment and it's not about computer. We don't want to be characterized like everybody else, you know, and part of your effort and part of your reason for appearing here and et cetera.
You know, I think we definitely want to get that word out, but I have this incredible confidence that the word will get out, and as we make more films, we'll demonstrate that by our results. So the interesting thing is when these films take 4 years to make, and they last for 60 or 100 years, you start to develop a longer focal length point of view than just the next 6 months.
But here you are, you went from Apple, where you made a lot of money, and then Scully came in and you left, and blah, 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 blah. And then you went to Next, which was never quite as much as what people thought it might be.
Right.
But those
It's coming back now.
Well, I know, I understand that, I do. And now, but your head seems to be into filmmaking, but you started this. You went to see George Lucas because you're out there as an entrepreneur looking for ideas.
Right.
Right? And so all of a sudden you get involved in this idea, and now you're saying, I'm in the entertainment business.
I did a good job of brainwashing.
Yeah, you sure did. I was going to say, you really did a number on
I'm very proud
guy.
of my
You
product
should be.
over there.
I mean, he bought it, didn't he?
Story and
He
character.
believes. He's a
Story
believer.
and character.
He's a believer.
I know he
Is
is.
he?
Yeah, I got
He's a
into this
great-
because of the technology at the beginning.
It excited you?
Oh, it blew me away. I mean, we had
yeah.
more PhDs work on Toy Story than any film in history. I mean, tremendous computer science. That's what drew me into it initially. But John's right. He educated me that what we are really about is storytelling.
He didn't use the word educate, Steve. He said brainwash.
And it's been 10 years.
Educate.
Educate's better, isn't it?
It's been 10 years.
Yeah.
So
when the day that stock went public, because it'd been 10 years.
Pixar stock.
Yeah, Pixar. Because you'd put, I don't know, what, about 50, 100. How much of your own money did you put into it at the beginning?
a little over 50 million.
50 million. All of a sudden, because it's the way to take notice, not because you needed $1 billion, all of a sudden, after 10 years, there was a recognition by the marketplace that this had been a wise, fruitful, productive fruition. Yeah, am I going to come back and interview you in 5 years and find out you're in some other business and you're not in the entertainment business, you found some other well to go fishing?
You know, I tend to stay where I start until somebody kicks me out.
Thank you for coming. Great to have you here. Thank you very much, Steve. Thanks, John. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. Don't go away. When he was 9 years old, David Copperfield performed his very first magic trick. By the time he was 12, he became the youngest person ever to be admitted to the Society of American Magicians. He has come a long way since performing at his neighborhood birthday parties and school functions. He has starred in 17 television specials that have garnered some 20 Emmy Awards. He performs over 500 shows a year. And next month, he will make his Broadway debut in Dreams and Nightmares. And I'm pleased to have him on this program. Welcome.
Thank you very much. That sounds pretty good.
It
I like
does
that.
sound good. I didn't also say that this, when they ever talk about how much entertainers make, you
I'm what?
at the top of the list. I mean, they talk about $50 million a year,
don't
which
believe
is
any of that stuff. It's an illusion.
Big number for me.
Well, it's. I think it's only something that I guess shows some sort of respect, in industry respect, for people that care about numbers. You know, when they put you with
It's
people
how they
that
keep
are.
score.
I guess so. It's kind of weird. It's kind of sad and unfortunate. You know, it's not something I pay too much attention to, but I guess it gets some of the industry people to pay attention to you. I guess.
You are going to Broadway.
Yes, my first time.
Why?
I started here. I started not by performing, by being an audience and just enjoying it. I was the kid that snuck into all the shows.
The kid from New Jersey who stuck in.
I took the bus to New York and I would second act all the Broadway shows. You know, during intermission they'd have the people outside the theater, you know, taking a break, and I'd sneak right in. And I saw the second act of all the Bob Fosse shows and the Jerome Robbins shows and the Hal Prince shows, and it really influenced my work and influenced my magic so
How
much.
so?
Well, it makes my magic very theatrical. You know, I really, I'm humbled by their work, and I try to take the magic that I do and take it in those directions, make it romantic sometimes, and sometimes daring, and sometimes cinematic, and try to take the audience to a different place. And you know, it has pushed my work in those directions rather than just fooling people.
You are the creator. First of all, the name you just picked, it is the David Copperfield.
Well,
and
Dickens created the name.
Dickens created the name, but you pulled it out and said,
I took it for better or for worse. Yeah.
You don't know why. You just happened to like it when it took place?
Probably a stupid idea, but...
Why a stupid idea?
I don't know, because it's not all mine.
What was your real name?
Kotkin, David Kotkin.
David Kotkin.
From Metuchen, New Jersey.
From where?
Metuchen, New Jersey.
Metuchen.
Exit 10, yeah.
And how far is that? Exit 10 off the Jersey Turnpike?
Exactly.
And you were back there recently?
Yesterday.
And did
wandering around.
Somebody wanted to go back home with you?
Yeah, I did a little interview in my hometown, and it was pretty amazing. Everything is smaller. Everything shrank.
Yeah. Is all this amazing to you? You know, what's happened to you and how well you are doing and what you can command in terms of...
I don't know. I think I am constantly working towards new things, and I don't really have time to look back, which is sad, I guess.
Not introspective at all, very much.
No, I don't. You know, especially the pat yourself in the back concept. Really, you know, I'm always moving forward into new challenges and sometimes ridiculous ideas and sometimes good ideas. And
are you driven? I mean, are you? You sure. Really are.
I'm driven. Yes, I am.
To do what? To find.
Well, to take magic in new directions, to get new respect for it. I try to do different things with it. You know, we had a book come out last year with all of my favorite authors who wrote in the same way that Hitchcock put together an anthology of stories and of different things based on horror and based on suspense. I put out a book last year with HarperCollins with writers like Joyce Carol Oates and Dean Koontz and Ray Bradbury, all around magic and illusion. So it takes magic in that direction. I've got a museum of magic that really pays homage to all the great past masters of my art form, which really shows the tapestry. And in our Broadway show, in fact, at the Martin Beck Theater, I'm bringing a lot of those artifacts in the lobby. I have a beautiful museum display that's going to be in the lobby. Martin Beck, the creator of that theater, happened to be the manager of Houdini. So I have a lot of Houdini artifacts and letters between the two of them. So
in your Hall of Fame, Houdini is first?
No, probably Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire and Orson Welles and Walt Disney.
Performers rather than...
Mostly. I think people that push the art form. I think Houdini was an incredible publicist and a great capture of people's imagination. But the people that influenced me in my youth were people in the cinema world and the theater world.
So what you think of yourself most of all is an entertainer?
As a communicator. Yes, just like you. No, I try to really share through my work different thoughts and different emotions. I was always jealous of singers and songwriters and playwrights that could take their feelings and what happened to them at home and share it through a song or through a play. But I love magic so much too, so I wanted to do both and tell stories with my magic.
What's the difference in magic, illusion, sleight of hand?
Well, I think basically magic really captures, the word magic is everything. It's things that are supposedly real and just your imagination. Illusion is very specifically creating illusions. I mean, Orson Welles created illusions when he wasn't on the magic stage. He was creating illusions as a film director. Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, Francis Coppola. All of these people create illusions using the camera as their tool. They tell stories like that. Sleight of hand is purely, you know, prestidigitation. It's
what?
Prestidigitation. I have to say it very fast now. It's just using technique of pure sleight of hand. I do a lot of that in the show. Yeah. I kind of have an unplugged section of the show, which is without all the accoutrements that I'm known for, all the lights and the sound and all of that. I love the intimate kind of magic as well, and juxtaposing the two makes for a very dynamic evening.
Now, Broadway theater,
yes.
How will that be different for you?
It's smaller.
I know. And so what does that mean?
It means a real plus for the audience, because they get to see things right in their face.
Does it mean real negative for you?
Only because, for financial reasons, yes. You know,
it won't be 50 million this year, will it?
No, but it's a great homecoming for me, you know, because I've stayed away because I really wanted to do it right. You know, I wanted to come here and do it, do what I do the way I saw it, you know, and it's kind of fun.
I want to talk about what you do in a minute, but what do you learn from, I mean, Francis Ford Coppola?
A lot I learned from Francis Ford.
What?
Well, I mean, watch his work, and you learn. I mean,
So you watch The Godfather, and you...
A lot.
You learn a lot.
Yeah, as with many people, but in his case,
He's a conversation, which was wonderful.
Incredible, Gene Hackman.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the cinema. My magic is very cinematic, even though it's done mostly on the stage. He's a friend of mine. I'm working on a number of his projects. I'm helping him with some things that he's doing, and he was kind enough to give advice and give help and kind of push me a little bit in certain directions, and that's good.
Like what direction? You mean to make you...
To wrap the show in kind of a format that's more personal, to try things that are theatrically different than I was already doing.
But the point here is that you are creator, arranger, conductor, everything. I mean, this is you from A to Z.
Well, no, I have a lot of great collaborators.
I know that, but the idea...
It's kind of a Disney-esque
You're your own
process.
executive producer, as they say.
It is very much a Disney-esque process. I've got very talented people that I'm working with. I'm ultimately responsible. Many of the ideas and inventions are mine, purely mine, but I have great help and a great team of people that I work with.
Let me take a look at this. This is the Death Saw. This is from The Magic of David Copperfield.
This is a piece where I have to escape, and it's really based on all of the movies where you... all the action-adventure movies, and this is my take on that.
Now, how do we know this is not camera tricks?
Come to the show, the Martin Beck Theater, and you'll know.
You'll know, all right. Here it is, roll tape.
See,
that's what?
That's the easy part. The hard part is
getting it back together.
Of
yeah,
course.
that's a tough one. Now, did you create this?
I did. I did.
Of all the things that are in the Death, I mean, what's it? Dreams and Nightmares.
Dreams and Nightmares, yeah.
How many of them are created by you? You actually, and how many of them you saw somewhere else?
No, all of them were developed by me.
By you.
But some of the invention, I would say maybe 50% of the invention is mine and my team also. You know, I mean, in the books that you get on magic, I've got a big library of 80,000 books. The only craft or subject that has more books written about it than magic is medicine. In fact, magic has lots and lots of books written about it.
Magic has been a subject of great curiosity for a lot of very interesting and famous people, right? I mean, like whom?
Well, Orson Welles, you mentioned.
Orson Welles, I knew.
I mean, lots. I mean, kings, and going back to magic was a part of our culture. I mean, way back. The Merlins, I mean, ran the country. You know.
But do you know why you got interested?
I guess probably I did it and somebody liked it, you know, when I was a kid, and that approval, you know, just made me...
Yeah. Would you describe yourself as socially disabled or something?
I mean, yeah, I guess so. But I think we were all socially disabled, I think, to a certain degree. Magic,
social skills.
We had to learn those things, and magic really helped me with those things. But I think, you know, a lot of politicians have learned magic and do magic in their spare time.
Why hasn't somebody, I mean, I'm always amazed that nobody, there are not books written explaining all this for people.
There are.
Are they, really?
Yeah.
In other words, you have a real problem. You have to sign confidentiality agreements with you if you work on your...
You do. And it's been successful so far. There's been some books about me, written about me, and nobody buys them, because I don't think people really want to know.
Oh, I see. So they write about you and how you do it.
They write about
nobody
it. Nobody
wants to buy them.
I don't think so, you know. There's been a few, actually.
And do you try to stop them in court, or you...
I do, and I have. You know.
You've stopped some of them?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I have.
Because they'd signed a confidentiality agreement, or...?
That, and also because they're wrong. Their explanations were incorrect. And that's not right, to take people's money if it's not correct. Now, there's thousands of magic books that are written, but people that buy them are people in my craft. You know, I don't think there's a real... I think people enjoy watching E.T., you know, and not necessarily knowing how it works. They know, but they forget. They enjoy feeling the feeling, and I think the proof of that is... I mean, Time magazine, about 10 years ago, came out with a whole story, and they showed how things worked, you know, as part of a story on magic. And the very next week, I used those exact same principles in my show. And people applauded. They forgot. They read it, and they forgot it. So what does that say? I think it says that people really don't want to know. They don't really care about how it works. You know, they may be curious, but I think they kind of, you know.
What is the appeal of it, you think? Well, why do people want to come see The Illusion?
I think it's the same appeal as an adventure movie or a romance movie or a comedy. You know, it's a pure, profound escape. It's watching things you know aren't real and watching them happen before your eyes. It's the possibility that knowing that that something's out there that you don't understand. So it's kind of a very satisfying feeling, you know. There's two very distinct audience members. One is sitting there trying to figure stuff out, and they'll sit there and they'll watch, and out in the lobby they'll be talking with their friends, and they'll be trying to figure it out. And then there's the other group. And by the way, the first group, that group comes back over and over again, so that's great, you know. Yeah. And then there's the other group that just enjoys it, like watching a